How much are you mining per month right now?
If I can be honest, I haven't even looked. I know I'm profitable for sure. Right now, based off of where we are, I'd say we're about $3,500 a month.
Everyone who's listening to this should strive to be so successful in this game that you're like, I don't know what I'm making, but no, it's profitable.
Some of mining definitely comes down to like having faith in crypto mining.
What is your strategy between now and the start of 2025 with mining?
So really getting more bullish on Kaspa, on the altcoin miners. I'm looking to get more Dogecoin miners. My most profitable miner right now is the DG1 Plus.
There's so many people out there who are Bitcoin maximalists and stuff, and I guess I'm technically kind of one in that Bitcoin is the only one I believe in like for 20 years from now.
100%.
But I dabble in everything else in the near term because I want more Bitcoin, and that's way to get it. There's some incredible opportunities when it comes to altcoin machines, and you get paid out in Bitcoin, and it's wildly more profitable than the actual Bitcoin machines. I wouldn't have as much Bitcoin as I do currently if it wasn't for all my altcoins.
Yeah.
As of right now, your top 5 are Bitcoin, Kaspa, Dogecoin as number 3. We gotta talk about that. Flux and Solana.
Yep. There's a lot to talk about, folks, here. So I hope you got time because there's a lot.
Is GPU mining dying?
100%. I don't even have my GPU miners on right now. Don't tell my audience, but no, I mean, all my GPU...
Who are definitely not watching right now.
That's right. All my GPU miners are off.
GPU mining does make sense, but it doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Funny. Look at this guy.
Hey friends, thanks for listening to the Andy and Friends podcast. I'm your friend Andy, and on this episode, I talk to my friend, the hobbyist miner. We talk all about his mining strategy over the next year, how his entire mining farm is doing right now. We also walk through his top 5 positions in his portfolio and how he even finds cryptos to buy or mine in the first place. There's also a lot of discussion around what ASICs he's buying, which ones he's not buying, his ASIC buying strategy going forward. And we also talk a lot about if you're just starting out and you're trying to build something new, how to go about that, how to manage your time. This is a really fantastic episode, as always, with my friends, so let's jump into it. Hello, hobbyist miner. Welcome back to the podcast.
Hello, Andy. I'm thrilled to be here.
A rare in-person podcast.
Yes, very much so.
The last time we did one of these, it was digital.
Yes, it was.
But the one before that was in person. Or have we done a couple between?
I don't remember. You and I just talk way too often. So, it kind of is what it is.
You've been on the podcast a bunch of times. I've been on your channel a bunch of times. It all kind of mashes together. Water over the dam, water under the bridge. Take
whatever you want to throw out there.
So, this is going to go out probably in a few weeks.
Okay.
So it won't be completely current. But if you are watching this and you want to know what was happening at the exact moment of recording, Bitcoin actually, for the first time in months, has dipped below $60,000.
Blasphemy.
Yeah. So, that's the near term, but let's, we're halfway through 2024. We're in June. I'm really curious what your expectations are between now and the end of this year.
Okay. So end of 24. So I think my expectations for me is very much, and I think is what we're running into right now is like, I don't want to say it's altcoin season, but it really feels like altcoin season where as a miner that not only does Bitcoin mining, but also ASIC and all different types of altcoin mining, I find myself leaning into altcoins more and more. Like when I look at like my fleet of ASIC miners and all different miners out there.
We should call them fleets more often. I
Fleet
like that.
sound. My squadron of miners.
I like that a lot too.
Star Wars fans out there.
Yes.
But I find myself leaning in that direction because Bitcoin mining right now is just not very profitable.
It's a little rough.
And if you didn't set yourself up before the halving to really, I don't want to call it having proof because we've learned very quickly that is not the case. However, I made it very conscious decision not to buy anything lower than an S21. And it's crazy to think because like the S21's pretty much the best of the best out there. Even looking at Bitcoin mining right now has not been great. So for me right now, altcoin mining has really been, looking at the future here over the next several months until we hit 25. Altcoin season just feels like we're there because my altcoin miners, it's a weird statement to say, my altcoin miners are my most profitable Bitcoin miners. And it's weird. People watching like, wait, what? So a lot of altcoin miners, you can go ahead and mine Bitcoin with them, or you can earn Bitcoin. You get your payouts in Bitcoin with platforms like NiceHash and other ones out there. So yeah, I mean, right now, what does the rest of 2024 look like? It looks, I hate to say it, but it looks like a struggle. Like I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be finding creative ways to be profitable. And I think we're going to have to lean more and more into these altcoin miners.
Yeah, altcoins are certainly much more of a gamble, and buying machines, that, especially ASICs, that are just for a certain coin or something, the risk factor is considerably higher
Oh, yeah.
than a Bitcoin ASIC. However, if you choose wisely and if you choose the right ones, they can really move the dial for you. Like Casp has been a big win for both of us and other YouTubers we know. Yeah, like right now though, S21s are still profitable, which is nice.
Yes.
So, if you were buying Bitcoin ASICs right now, you'd just be looking at S21s or
I guess
better?
the S20, I mean, I have taken a new turn, I'd say, in the last year and a half, where I'm like, I really only want to buy the best of the best. Now that comes with the cost, of course, the price is always significantly more, but it really helps to jumpstart you and get ahead.
Yep.
Versus like, oh, I want to, like, I wouldn't even touch an S19K Pro right now. It's just, it makes sense a day, if not nothing a day. But yeah, I mean, right now, if you were to buy one today when we're recording this, you probably would go with the S21, but the S21 Pro is supposed to be shipping literally this week. So that's probably the angle you would go, which is, I think it's like 234 or something like that from a hash rate.
We have the XP right on
That's
the cusp.
right. And that's right around the corner, so it's just like the constant game for sure.
Yep. Okay, so now let's talk about the squadron. Let's talk about the fleet. And maybe you don't know the exact number, but give me a rough ballpark across your entire mining empire.
Oh man, there's so many Star Wars references in this. I love it.
Across the entire entire empire that you've built, how much are you mining per month right now?
If I can be honest, I haven't even looked. Like I've been so busy. That's the interesting thing is like, even in a situation like mine where like I don't know how much I'm making, I know I'm profitable for sure. And I'm just that passionate about it, from there. Last time I did this, I'm going to be honest, I should be a better miner, was probably months ago. And we were still about 5,000 a month that we were earning. I have done some rough math as I've built out my shed to be like, okay, how much can I support? Like how much can I run here? What do I need to do to like make sure I'm well over break even? Yeah, I would say right now I'm probably less, about 3,000 a month, based off of where that's at, especially because my electric rate has risen with the new service and I can't get the better rate until 3 months down the road. So it's a whole debacle there. But I would say right now, based off of where we are, I'd say we're about 3,500 a month.
Everyone who's listening to this should strive to be so successful in this game that you're like, I don't know what I'm making, but no, it's profitable. It's good.
That's a double-edged sword. That's also like, hey, I just have miners on and they're running, which is great. And like, I know we're there. I mean, for me right now, I'm absolutely like paying, like I am covering floating my electric bill. So for me, I haven't done that math. Now I know a lot of your number people on your channel are like, what do you mean? You're not crunching the numbers per day and you're seeing where you are? And like, no, absolutely not. Like, and that's the hard part. Some of mining definitely comes down to like having faith in crypto mining. And also it's like, sometimes it's also toxic to be like, okay, what am I making per day today versus yesterday and the day before? And it's like, oh my gosh, stop looking. Like, I rarely look at my wallet to be like, where am I at today? Or where am I at tomorrow? It's like, no.
One of my big takeaways from everything you're saying though right now is something we've talked about a lot as we both jump, on each other's channels and stuff and talked about crypto mining in general, which is you can afford to pay the cost of mining out of pocket and not stress about it. It's not, if some people overextend.
Sure.
Some people use money they shouldn't use because they need it for their life. Other people need to sell some of their crypto each month to pay for the electric bill, which this shows the power. And so I also operate the same way, which is I can afford to pay these hosting costs, these electric costs, whatever, out of pocket. And if crypto's in the dumps, who cares? If crypto's flying high, awesome. But either way, it doesn't affect my day-to-day life, right?
Yeah, I definitely view crypto as an investment. So with that being said, it's like if I can float it financially, which as you and I have talked about, like I do work a career still outside of YouTube, outside of mining. So that's
still a normie.
Still a normie. But yes, I still am a normie. And so I hate you. But outside, but yeah, so I'm still doing that now. However, to be completely honest though, once I have my ASIC shed full, it may be about a $5,000 bill every month. So then it's like, okay, I don't want to float that anymore. Like, so my goal there is to sell 50% in order to pay for it, and then the other 50% to go ahead and pay for. But even if I'm doing that, I'm still going to be profitable. That's my goal.
Yeah. And I guess the whole, like, can you pay it out of pocket thing is a great metric to a certain degree, but some people want to grow beyond, we've talked to several people here who like, this is their life where they've like gone into the deep end and it's like a business. In that case, it's like, well, I mean, if the biggest, publicly traded mining companies, Marathon, Riot, etc., have to sell Bitcoin each month.
How dare they?
Yeah. To pay that's like part of it. So, there's a balance there. So you talked about it a little bit, but maybe we can dive into this deeper between now and the end of the year. Mining strategy.
Okay.
You kind of talk about altcoins. Like what does that practically mean? Like what is your strategy between now and the start of 2025 with mining?
So I'm comfortable with where my Bitcoin miners are at. Now I do have 2 S21 Pros coming, which is fine. And I'll probably at some point go with the XP whenever that is, just because there's something to be said for that. But outside of that, I'm not actively like seeking to buy more Bitcoin miners, especially when the profitability per day is just so minimal right now. And that comes down to a lot of things, network hash rate and the price of the coin right now and such. But leaning into that end of 2024, I'm actually pivoting more towards altcoin mining, as I said. So like I purchased a K5 Pro. Ice River KS5 Pro. So really getting more bullish on Kaspa, on the altcoin miners. I'm looking to get more Dogecoin miners. I am like all of a sudden becoming this weird, like I am all about Dogecoin script mining. And it may be also because my most profitable miner right now is the DG1 Plus, which is about $33 a day. If it's Dogecoin or if it's Bitcoin, pick your poison. So, and actually it's a great question you asked that. When I talk with people, I do a lot of consulting throughout the week with people. What miner should I get, Andy? Oh, I want to get the S21. And then they're like, okay, well, let's look at the profitability. It makes you $3 a day. Oh, dang. Okay. Or you can go with an altcoin miner and you can earn altcoin, you earn that altcoin, that native altcoin, or you can flip it over and earn Bitcoin. And they're like, oh, I like being able to have that flexibility. So that is for me between now and the end of the year. I plan to grow my ASIC farm, max it out, which is what I always do, but I will be recycling more miners to be hosted as I max out my home farm as well.
Yeah, and like there's so many people out there who are Bitcoin maximalists and stuff, and like I guess I'm technically kind of one in that Bitcoin is the only one I believe in like for 20 years from now.
100%.
But I dabble in everything else in the near term because I want more Bitcoin and that's way to get it, But I think some maximalist type people could do with thinking like that and expanding their minds because there's some incredible opportunities when it comes to altcoin machines. And let's say you only care about Bitcoin. Buy one of these new script miners, buy a Kaspa miner, throw it on a pool that lets you, it can be on Nice Hash and get paid out in Bitcoin. It can be on one of the pools where it lets you mine one thing and you get paid out another, and you get paid out in Bitcoin. And it's wildly more profitable than the actual Bitcoin machines. I mean, there's something to be said for supporting the network or whatever. And I obviously we both have lots of machines.
I get it.
But, like what's the hang up? Why do people struggle with that who are all about Bitcoin, but, refuse to even like get a miner that's a Dogecoin miner, but then have it paid out in Bitcoin?
It's funny you say that because I think at the end of the day, like if we look at our portfolios and we look at the way that they eventually end up rolling, where do those profits end up rolling up to? For me, a lot of it ends up rolling into Bitcoin. When I'm like, oh, I took profits on this project. And if I'm not taking those profits and buying more miners, I'm eventually just kind of DCAing more into Bitcoin. Like it's really funny. We eventually get to that endpoint. Like we eventually get to increasing our portfolio status with our Bitcoin and our amount. So it's really funny. Like, it's just like, for me, I don't care how I get there. It's just getting there.
I wouldn't have as much Bitcoin as I do currently if it wasn't for all my altcoins. Yeah. And yet, a lot of Bitcoin maximalist type people, and I don't know why I've chosen this podcast to throw them into the bus. All right. But, they're like, just stay humble, just stack sats. Everything else is a scam. I'm like, but so many people I've talked to, like you and others, wouldn't have the positions we do in Bitcoin if we hadn't dabbled in that stuff. So maybe it doesn't, maybe it is all the scam. I don't know. Maybe it doesn't all make it 10 years from now, but isn't it better to have more Bitcoin? It doesn't matter how I get there.
Yes, it is. It doesn't matter. To me, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, as long as you get to the result you want, which is nice.
Yeah. And so speaking of portfolios. Speaking of that Bitcoin in the portfolio, you did tweet today or yesterday.
See, Andy does follow me on Twitter, guys. It's amazing.
It's true. You did tweet your current crypto mining holding snapshot. So is this an analog for your actual portfolio, or is this just the things you're mining and holding? What
No,
was this?
this is the top 5 in my portfolio as of today.
Okay. And so as of right now, your top 5 are Bitcoin, Caspa, Dogecoin as number 3.
Heck
we got to talk about that. Flux and Solana.
Yep.
And then number 6 is USDT, which
Correct.
is very interesting.
Yep.
And then mobile, and then
That's right.
other stuff.
There's a lot to talk about, folks, here. So I hope you got time, because there's a lot.
So, I mean, Bitcoin, that's both of our number 1 positions. We don't need to belabor why that's top position. There's a good chance that it will be number 2 position, number 3 position, as some of our other positions hopefully balloon in value.
That is what we hope for
this cycle. But talk me through the next one, which is Caspa. Why is that number 2 on the list?
So it's really number 2 based off of when I got started mining it. So I started mining it during the GPU days, not as early on as some other content creators and other people in the space, but I started mining it during that time period. I actually was dual mining it. With GPUs, you could dual mine it. That's how little faith I had in Caspa then. I was like, I'm just going to dual mine it, you know, and build up that portfolio, and then got into some of the early home miners, and then got into more, you know, growing that. And believe it or not, I have not sold any of my Caspa. Like, none of my Caspa since I earned it. So the nice thing is, it's just accumulated during the lows, you know, and even now as we've seen it gone up and stuff like that. So yeah, for me, it is, Caspa has become something that I was, even in that post I put, like, I was a little, you know, unsure about it. As I said, I GPU mined it as dual mining, like, which usually dual mining, it's like that second coin is usually just like the other one. But now it's like, I not only have multiple Caspa miners, I'm buying one of the best Caspa miners available. And it's interesting because I like the availability to float that coin. 1 month to be like, let's earn more Caspa. Let's build that bag. The next month, I'd love to see more Bitcoin. Let's utilize that. I mean, right now, today, it's earning anywhere, I'd say $80 plus a day right now on Caspa, which is fantastic, especially based off of emissions, based off that network hash rate just continuing to balloon. And so, yeah, it just puts me in a really good position. And even if you're not a miner and you're not like, if you're one of those Bitcoin maxis, it's like, you can't go away from the fact of how profitable it is per day.
How many, what are all the Caspa mining machines you're running right now?
KS0, Ice River KS0, Ice River KS0 Pro. I have 2 Ultras waiting for me when I get home. Gold Shell KA boxes, KS1 by Ice River, KS2 by Ice River, KS3, M, and then I'll have the KS5 Pro here soon.
And what's the KS5 Pro from Ice River? What's the specs on that?
A lot. No, 21 terahash, I think is what it is.
21. Yeah. Probably like 3,500 watts or
something.
Yeah,
somewhere right around there. Yep.
That's pretty good. Yeah, Caspa is one that, I mean, how long ago was it before I bought my first Caspa machine?
Do we need to talk about the Caspa story with Andy all over again here?
He was like, you should buy one of these Ice Rivers or whatever. I'm like,
Cliff Notes, we were at a dinner. When was that? Cypherpunk? No, mining.
Oh, was it a year ago?
It was a year ago. Wow. Oh, wow. A year ago, we were at dinner, and I brought up Caspa to a table, a bunch of Bitcoin maxis. Andy was one of them. Oh, no, we're not going to do it. And now a year later, all those people have reached out to me since then and go, yeah, we should have gotten to Caspa then.
Well, to be clear, I had already been mining it and buying it.
Yes.
I just had not jumped into any of the ASICs.
And the ASICs. I was promoting more like, hey, you should buy like a KS1 or 2.
And I don't know why I was so hesitant on the ASICs. I should have just listened to y'all and aped into it right then. But
now you do it in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
When you're like, there's a coin coming out where there's an ASIC. And he's like, please, I'll take one.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so the Caspa, you're quite a few machines there. Okay, very cool. Number 3 position,
Dogecoin.
So this is the second time. So I posted on Twitter what my top 5 positions were, and someone responded with their number 2 was Dogecoin. So you're not the first person I've encountered this in their top 5.
Yep.
Why? Tell me. Explain.
All right.
This.
So it's all about profits. At the end of the day, it's all about profits. So I've purchased a few L7s over the last year. I have the AlphaPex DG1 Plus now. I've had boatloads of the Gold Shell, mini Doge miners running for years now.
You have lots of those.
I have lots. I sold a ton of them, by the way. I finally pulled the trigger and sold a ton of those. People bought those up in like 2 seconds.
They're cool little boxes.
They are. And a lot of new people, new miners coming to entry were all about those. But for me, it's all about the opportunity. Just like with Caspa. Like, we think Caspa will go up. That's kind of why we hold our Caspa bag, and we haven't liquidated it when we see a pump. Dogecoin is the exact same way. For me, it is something that Dogecoin is more mainstream, especially over Caspa. If I'm going to look at like 3 cryptocurrencies that are more mainstream, we got like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Dogecoin. Like when you ask your parents, have you heard of Dogecoin? Oh, I've seen that on the news, or Elon Musk has talked about it. So for me,
They'll
maybe
probably call it dog coin, but
Dogecoin, yes, you're right.
they have heard of
But
it.
for me, it's like, is it a dirty meme coin? Maybe. However, it's become more mainstream, more legitimized. So for me, it's really just the fact of I have a proof of work miner that can earn me more of this coin. And I did liquidate some Dogecoin 2 years ago, maybe, but it's returned very quickly back to that place in my portfolio.
Well, I mean, last cycle Doge did meme its way to
Yep.
like a $69 billion market cap. I couldn't actually find it on CoinGecko. I got as high as 65 billion, but I know it went higher than that. And it's, it's like at 2 or 3 billion today. So, I mean, it stands to reason that the original meme coin if Elon decides to pat our backs a little bit.
I would love to see that. I want to see like, hey, Twitter is going to start accepting Dogecoin as this payment method of choice, and I'd be like, thank you, I will take it.
I mean, there is, and I'm not I don't own any Doge. I want to. Yeah. Well, maybe I have like a teeny little bit of Doge just to have the credibility of saying I have some.
Okay.
But I'm actually considering getting an L9. But I want to mine some. But like, I don't want to put my crazy conspiracy theory hat on here, but I can see a world where Doge could be in somewhere a currency or something. It's faster than Bitcoin. There's more of them. I don't know. Do you give any serious credence to that?
At the end of the day, I'll be honest with you. I have no loyalty to Dogecoin in any way other than the fact of my goal is to make money with it. So eventually I will liquidate it, and a lot of that will roll up into Bitcoin.
Yeah. Okay. I'm fine with that too. So number 4 position, Flux.
So I mined a ton of Flux last bull run. I didn't sell any of it. That's another coin that I haven't sold any of it. I actually had a choice between like when I was selling right after the Ethereum went to proof of stake, I decided to sell, and Flux and Ergo were both doing really good right then. Ergo was right around $5. So I liquidated my Ergo and I decided to hold on to my Flux. However, any of my Flux that I currently do hold, I've rolled it up into nodes. There's no point in not allowing your Flux to work for you if you're just going to hold it. And so, for me, I did very well with it, and still have a significant bag of it. Not as big as Mr. Andy here, but definitely a significant bag. And I've just left it. Let it accumulate and left it. Yeah.
Since it is my second biggest position in my portfolio, and I want you to not only stroke my Flux ego here, but also, dream for me. What is your like, when the bull run does finally roll around, when alt season is here, what are your price targets for Flux?
I don't know that Flux is one I don't think I have a target for. I think it's more like when the project finally gets rolling with one of its product lines and like actually hits mainstream media and like actually gets true public attention to one of it. I think that's where I'd be at. I think that's be like, okay, great. It's offering it now. And it's now providing this AI rendering for something Elon Musk is doing, great. Then now it's time to do it. So for Flux is the one where like, I don't know that I have a number. I think it's more of like sit on it and wait for them to actually launch a product that hits mainstream media, that hits the public, that has an everyday use.
I mean, just kind of hearing the subtext here, it kind of sounds like you're saying you have a really strong feeling of like $25 to $50 plus per Flux is what I just kind of got from that. Okay, I'm good with that. That's cool.
I think you're a little crazy, but you're hoping for that in your situation.
We will
never see Andy ever again.
If Flux hits $50 and I still hold most of my bag, one, shame on me for holding so much YOLO, but two, you'll never see me again.
Like I'm out, and Andy's gonna own an island somewhere and be done with it.
It will have automated turrets too. So anybody, if you try to come to my island, sorry, you're out of luck.
That's right.
Okay. Number 5 position on the portfolio, Solana.
Yes.
Why Solana?
So I actually stepped into Solana. I shouldn't say accidentally, but from other coins. So
with extremely good timing.
Amazing timing. Helium Mobile and Hive Mapper. So Helium Mobile, I had accumulated it over about 2 years, got into the project very early on, had their buy sells radios early on, accumulated a lot of it when it was multiple zeros, and decided to sell it. And when I sold it, it was within 12 hours of its all-time high. Like it was already on there. Like I can't say I hit the exact all-time high, but within that roller coaster up. And so that was fantastic.
So whatever price targets hobbyist does have, just listen to he's prophetic. He can hit those all-time highs.
I got lucky. What can I say? And then same thing at that exact same time right around there was Hive Mapper. Hive Mapper was doing really good. I don't recall all-time high status, but really good. And I was like, I got into Hive Mapper early. They had sent me one of their devices early on. I never bought any of it. I just used their device, earned a lot of the honey token, sold them, but you could sell them direct, like you could roll them right into Solana based off of the chain. So I rolled them into Solana, and then that exact same week, Solana was like pumping, and I was like, wow, like the stars have aligned. So I actually didn't touch any of it. I left it exactly where it is. So that's how Solana went from, I'm not touching Solana. It's not proof of work. Like I'm not focused on it to it's in my top 5 all of a sudden. And so I'm like, great, like let's leave it there. And when Solana has its opportunity again, I'll probably liquidate some of it. You know, my rule of thumb is very much liquidating 50%. So like my Helium Mobile, only 50%. My honey token, only 50%. It's kind of my rule of thumb of being able to stay in there, get that moon bag, as Andy always likes to say. And then, but I still take my profits.
50. I've heard several people do that kind of 50% rule. Whenever it hits it, you know, the 5x or 10x or whatever their kind of nearer term goal is, when it hits that, they sell half. And then when it hits that next target, they sell half again.
Correct.
And just kind of, it's kind of like dollar cost averaging out in a way. So do you like the fundamentals of Solana, or do you just happen to?
I know nothing about it at all. Zero. At the end of the day, I'm just interested in following the money.
Typical crypto miner.
100%.
Doesn't care about proof of stake.
100%.
Cryptos. I think it's really interesting. We'll keep it to the top 5, but I do want to discuss your 6th position real quick, because having USDT be your 6th biggest position in your portfolio
Great question.
now. Why?
Explain.
It seems smart in my brain, but explain it to me.
So for me, a lot of the times when I take those profits, right? I like to have my crypto work for me. So I always end up, selling it to USDT. ERC20, and then I'll buy more miners with it. But if I'm like in a situation where like I don't have a miner I want to buy at that moment, where should I put this? I put it into that. And you might be like, well, why? Like put it into another crypto, whatever. Sometimes I'll do that. However, I like that opportunity for a few reasons. One, if I find a project that approaches and I'm like, oh, I want to get into that quick, I already have that stable coin ready to go that I can then flip it and get into it. So it's having money in reserves. In addition to that, if there's a miner I want to buy, or miners, like the one time I was like, let's buy 5 S21s. All right, great. It's there. So that's why I have that there. So it's kind of like that, kind of like on standby funds that it's ready to go. Instead of being like, oh, I'm going to keep $50,000 in my bank account ready for any purchases. Well, guess what? You still got to get it in. You still got to flip it. USDT is an easy way. Everybody accepts it, and whenever I need to buy anything, it just makes it easy. So
I've seen so many people who like lament with days like today, which is a red day in the market. It's kind of a bloody day in the crypto market. My portfolio is down a lot this week.
Don't look.
But like, and then, this presents opportunity to buy in at lower prices than you didn't have a chance of. And there's lots of people who lament and they go, I'm out of dry powder. Already burned all my funds and stuff. And this is where it's like, it pays to be a little more conservative about how you're doling out that, those stables and stuff over time, and always keeping some in reserve, or trying to stack it up and wait till you just don't know what.
Yeah. It's nice to kind of have that honeypot available for you. And then you can, as I said, pivot to crypto. You can pivot to miners, which is what I normally go to. So yeah. Definitely.
Why do you do a USDT as an ERC20 on Ethereum?
Just because of so many people accept it. That's just why. Just so many websites or individuals I'm buying from, or they always accept that. So yeah.
So that's interesting, because I keep all mine in USDT. My stable is my stable of choice, but I do TRC20.
TRC20. I was gonna say I don't mind TRC20, except it's very few people accept it, and I hate the fact of like needing to have like Tron and all that. It's just like ugh.
That's annoying. And I don't know anything about Tron these days. Like is it still a thing? So there is a little bit of concern there, but it's just so cheap to send around.
Correct.
And when I do need to send it to somebody, I can just send it to an exchange cheaply and then, withdraw from, so I guess it's an extra step, which kind of sucks, but, okay. Well, thank you for taking me down a little memory lane there of all the.
Some people are screaming watching right now, and other people are like, "Oh, I like that idea."
So when it comes to things you're going to mine, when it comes to things that are in your portfolio you're considering investing in, which over the past year and a half you have done more just straight up investing, which was a new
venture for me,
new thing for you, which has been cool. You've had some wins, which has been great.
100%.
How do you pick out those things?
Mm.
How do you research those things? How do you decide that this is worth your money or it's a good opportunity?
Yeah, I get less into meme coins, I find. Like, I'm not like going down the Andy rabbit hole of like, oh, meme coin today. I'm excited. I do a lot less of that. And I find for me, I do follow that proof of work. Like, it's in my blood, like, so like for me, it's finding those projects. I think we're in this weird hiatus, like kind of plateaued time period where we don't see as many proof of work coins like launching versus go back 6 months ago or more. It was like, man, there's new proof of work coin coming out every day. And I think now it's more getting into projects that you have a little bit more interest in, like you and I have talked about like GeoNet or WeatherXM. Like, man, I got interest in those deep pin projects because we did a video at some point talking about the fact of like, home mining is shifting in that direction due to electrical cost. And it's like very much so, like deep pin is super popular. So for me, I'm slowly getting more and more into projects I have more faith in and more interest in. I do find those are the projects I have a harder time liquidating or taking profits on. However, I think that's usually the direction I go.
Do you think the way we're headed with like energy and stuff, because electric cars are much more prevalent, those take a huge amount of power. Bitcoin mining is constantly in the news cycle, and those operations are only growing. Energy demand by humanity in aggregate seems to be growing. So I would assume that electric rates are going to be increasing over the coming years, especially with inflation and just rising costs and things like that. Do you see that? And do you think like the deep pin stuff, the low power stuff, that's like where a lot of people are going to find as the like secret sauce?
I think a lot of us are going to be forced in that direction. I think a lot of miners that watch my channel that are home miners getting into it, it's like, oh, well, I'm not GPU mining anymore because the electric rate's too much and the profits are too low. Or like, I'm not getting into this because of that. And it's always about electric rate. Like electric rate at the end of the day, your operating cost is always there. So I think DPIN is where I truly do believe things are moving in that direction. Whether we as miners now kick and scream, because I think DPIN to me is more proof of participation. Yeah. I got it out.
Yes.
Third time. Don't edit that. It needs to stay in. But that is really what that is, like with a lot of these projects and such versus, proof of work. And as much as I love proof of work, the profitability is not there anymore. The days of Ethereum where it's like crazy the amount of money coming in where you didn't even care about your electric rate. You were just like, put more equipment on, I need to earn more money. So I do think these lower cost projects from an expense perspective are the future of home mining.
Is GPU mining dying?
100%. 100%. I don't even have my GPU miners on right now. Don't tell my audience, but no, I mean, all my GPU...
Who are definitely not watching right now.
That's right. All my GPU miners are off. And it's like, you can't convince me to put a GPU miner on versus an ASIC where it's like, that ASIC, it uses 3,300 watts, but it makes me $33 a day. How many GPU rigs am I going to have to plug in just to make that when a GPU makes sense a day? It doesn't make sense. Like, we have to look at this smart and where that's at. If GPU mining ever returns, I'll plug everything back in and off we'll go. And I know a lot of miners that are loyalists will be like, oh, well, it's like, well, if I want that coin that bad, I'll buy it. Like, I'm also an investor. So like, I'm okay with buying that. So I think that's something to keep in mind for sure. You just have to be flexible. At the end of the day, I'm a miner. So make the smart mining decision.
Yeah. GPU mining does make sense, but it doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Funny. Look at this guy. I mean, right now, a lot of people are pivoting, and it's something I'm strongly about, and I may move more in that direction after I get my ASIC shed up and running, is building out my home shed with all these GPUs, probably not all of them, but some of them, to be more AI focused, to getting on I have not jumped on the AI train. I have not built anything. I've not run anything on any of these AI platforms where it's like one GPU, one CPU in a rig. So I do have interest there though. So that may be the direction I end up going in order to put them to work.
There is opportunity there, but that also requires higher end gear.
Correct. So you end up spending a little bit more. So it's like, yeah.
So all these, previous or multiple previous generations of GPUs that people have laying around.
Very little opportunity. I would love to see a project, which I'm not on my top 5, that would do well, is Dynex. I listened to, if you guys haven't, Hawk Crypto Mining is a great video on Dynex and Octaspace partnering together and them doing and kind of passing some of that load back and forth and some of the projects they have and contracts they have. And like, I listened to that and was like, wow, Dynex is really doing things. And I kind of wrote them off a little while back. I would love to see Dynex, as they grow, reward GPU miners more. That's one thing. Yeti is actually at the event, who's a part of that team. And I want to ask him like, hey, as you grow, I need you to incentivize me as a GPU miner to power my rigs back up and put them on Dynex. And how do they do that? They need to increase the rewards for mining, for GPU mining, because that's an easy way. If they increase rewards, I'm putting my rigs back on. So, because I do think they're doing a lot of really cool things that isn't traditional compute or traditional with AI, that I think makes it appealing.
Yeah, still not super familiar with I mean, there's just so many things to be on top of. But the idea of it, I mean, obviously I hold a bunch of Flux, but also in my top 10, Chlor, Octaspace, which you just mentioned. I have a big belief in compute-based projects. Especially ones that are mineable, and especially ones like Chlor that have a marketplace already out
ready
there
to go.
People I had Son of a Tech on the podcast a while back, and he was raving about using their marketplace and stuff. I've heard lots of people who...
Yeah, I think it's interesting because there are so many projects now that are AI, that are compute, and it's like everybody's coming to bat saying, "Oh, we're the next." Like, oh, stop it. Like, there's a million of you out there. So like, at the end of the day, do you have a marketplace? Is it available today? Do you have customers? Things like that are really important.
Yeah. Is it actually functioning? Are people on it? And is there demand by actual customers who are paying actual money?
Correct.
Yep. That's pretty important. So just in 2024, again, as you watch this, we're recording this in June of 2024 in Miami, Florida.
Ooh, coming to you live.
Sunny Miami, Florida. We're halfway through the year. What would you say is your biggest mining win this year so far?
Oh, this year, I can't remember if I took Chlor during that time period. Because the three that come to mind are the Hive Mapper, we talked about, Helium, and Chlor, but I don't know that I've taken any wins since then. I think since the last time we recorded, those were my three. I think that's probably where we're at. I was trying to think. I don't think I honestly don't know that I've even liquidated anything since then.
Since the last time we talked, Chlor is down 50% or something since the last time but I'm still up a massive amount because shout out to DJ if you're out there wherever you are in the world listening. I bought in so early on Chlor that it doesn't, it can go down another 50% and I'm still golden on that one, thankfully. But so this isn't something you mined, but this is a mining win. And if anybody's been watching your channel, they've seen the entire series around this. You have a new mining shed.
A new but old mining shed.
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, it's like a new, you redid it. It's better than ever. How many amps?
400 amps.
400 amps.
Yep, dedicated to mining.
Which is, a lot of houses in the US are 100 or 150 amps, maybe 200
Mine's
amps.
200 and yeah, definitely.
So twice, your average house in a single shed. So how long has that whole process taken to build this?
So that was like my focus before this event, was getting that done. And we got it done. Started it between shutdown of the current shed setup and power up of the new design with power was 10 days. So from start to finish was 10 days, completely gutting it, rebuilding it, all new wiring, all new layout, all new airflow design. We did all the trenching, the conduit, and everything. It was 10 days total. And it was very stressful and a lot of physical labor and work, but it's turned out awesome.
Yeah, I think you should be very proud of what you've done. So, I mean, when I got into this mining journey, I was like, where do I put these machines? I don't have a garage at my house. I live really close to downtown Austin, but I was able to have a shed. And so I got into the whole idea about, my specialized little wind tunnel mining shed thing I've done. I'm sure lots of other people who want to do this too, or maybe have a dedicated space that's not the garage or in the house to do all these machines. What are some of the top things you've learned through the process of doing 3 or 4 sheds now?
So if you consider it would be my third, because I completely redid it. I've only physically done 2, but I've rebuilt that existing shed entirely, gutted everything type of deal. I mean, I think one of the big wins for me was moving my miners outside my home. I mean, I had them in my basement. I grew large enough. I ended up killing my home AC unit. It was a nightmare with my heating the house and sweating. But the second I moved everything outside my house, it was a massive win. And even if you're a small miner and you're like, okay, I can't afford a big shed, whatever, buy those things. You go to Home Depot and it's I think they call them a yard closet or something like that. It's tall, skinny, you open it up, you type of deal, and go that route. Put it up against your house wire some electrical into there and do some good airflow, and it's outside of your home, because the heat is the biggest challenge. And that is a huge factor that I deal with people all the time that I talk to, where they're like, oh, I'm looking to I had a guy the other day that was like, I bought 3 S19K Pros and I want to put them in a bedroom. They're on their way here. I want to put them in my bedroom. And I went, there's not a chance in hell you're going to do that. And like, are you married? Yeah. Well, they're going to scream like crazy.
In the bedroom.
The heat is going to be insane. Like, you can't even handle the heat. And he tried. And I was like, and then he literally reached back out to me a week later and he's like, yeah, there's no way this is going to work. And I'm
I mean,
like,
3 of those machines, that's 9,000 watts of energy just burning.
Yep. So I think the challenge is like heat management is massive. The second you get it outside your house, and even off of my current shed design now, the new one is like, I'm no longer dealing with heat. Every ASIC has a dedicated exhaust duct that exhausts the heat. I mean, literally it's 3 inches between the ASIC and the outside world. And it's amazing. Like, I can't believe I've ever done what I did before, where I tried to manage the heat, and it's like, just get rid of it. And it dissipates so quickly. So that was a huge win there. It doesn't even, and a lot of people have a lot of misconceptions on like, it's hot outside, my miner's going to have issues. Those miners can go to like 150 Fahrenheit. Like, you're good. Like, you're not going to have issues. Like, I'm in Pennsylvania, so I'm not as far south type of deal. Right now it's like 100 out. My miners are completely comfortable.
Yep.
Completely. I have no issues. I've got no alerts. They're not down or anything like that. So a lot of misconception on heat and doing those through heat. I know
so many people think you have to put an AC unit in there. I'm like, nope, do not. You just need air that's cooler than what the machine's air is currently. And and we're just remove that heat constantly with slightly cooler air in your goal.
New airflow. You just need new fresh air.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't realize, like, you just need a lot of intake. Doesn't need to be active. Allow your ASIC to do the work, but you need a lot of positive airflow. People naturally go to negative, like, oh, I need to suck the air out. It needs to be a super strong fan. And then they give their intake like this big of a hole, and then it's a challenge to them. It's complete opposite. More intake, less flowing exhaust, you'll do fine. So yeah, it's been a great journey. I love it. It's a lot of fun.
So if if people are watching this and they're like, okay, I want to do this, like, go for it. That's your recommendation. Yeah, do it.
Yeah, start at a small scale. As I said, go spend $100 or whatever for one of these floor standing things that you could put on the outside of your house, wire some electric through a hole in the wall, and just do it and run it that way. And that is but guess what? You're going to step into it, and then all of a sudden you're going to go, oh my gosh, I want to add more and more. And then you're like, okay, now I'm going to go with the shed. So yeah.
Yeah. And like, my shed is not fully dedicated to mining. My shed has all our yard equipment and paint and random, random shit in the shed. But I built and framed out an actual like wind tunnel thing that's completely sectioned off from the rest of it. Has a big old intake from under the shed, where I have a giant like 20 by 24 or 20 pleated air filter, which pleated air filters, by the way, way more airflow than standard air filters, more surface area, do a better job of filtering. And it just pulls air up and through this L shape. And then in the top part, I just lined up my rigs and it works great. It's not anything like fancy or big like that, but it still gets stuff out of the house. I don't hear screaming ASICs. I don't hear, the power, you server PSUs, and those also scream. And, it's the heat and everything is removed. It's all taken care of. Greatest decision when it comes to mining I've ever made, probably.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah. So do that. Everybody who's listening, go build the mining shed.
I have like a 45-minute long video, and literally it is just me talking day by day with time lapses in between it, and it's just like, here's what I'm doing today, let me show you, and it's real quick, you get to see it, move on. So learn from my mistakes, because my channel is packed full of mistakes, absolutely, and I don't mind sharing those at all.
Yeah, and that's how you learn the space. I've made so many mistakes, and even my own shed, I've made so many revisions trying to figure out mistakes. Buying machines at the wrong time, buying GPUs at the wrong time, selling them at the wrong. You got to kind of go through some of the stuff to figure it out. So when it comes to buying, you kind of said you're not really looking to add any more Bitcoin ASICs,
correct,
right now. What would need to change for you to start going, oh, I'm going to add some more?
Sure. Mining rewards is really what it comes down to. So for me, it's like looking at my Bitcoin miners right now. It does make sense to run them based off of where they're located and cost of electric. But when you're talking $3 to $4 a day versus buying a miner that's making me $33 a day, I don't mind getting back into buying more Bitcoin miners as time goes on. Now, as I said, I do have S21 Pro, and at some point I'll do the S21 XP only from a content perspective, like content channel, type of deal. However, I think it's going to come back to those mining rewards returning. I think we got spoiled right after the halving, that time period when like mining rewards were up like 3x, and it was like, wow, this is amazing. That did not last long enough. I wish it was still the case. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it comes down to numbers. And like, it doesn't make sense right now, but I'll continue to mine altcoins and get paid out in Bitcoin because that's, as you said, that's kind of where we have more faith.
Unfortunately, runes did not save us.
No, and it didn't consistently, agreed.
So I'm a believer in the idea that, machines I own now or I buy now, hopefully for lower prices, if Bitcoin goes to 100, 150, $200,000 or whatever, and all this on-chain activity, and there's more ordinals and runes and whatever garbage is happening on the chain, filling it up, making more fees. Mining is very, very profitable in a year from now. And then I can flip those machines. Is that your expectation? Or have you changed your mind at all about that? Do you wonder if it's actually going to happen like that again? Because I do go back and forth on that myself.
I have not really sold machines until recently. And they were gold shell home miners that are like not even profitable anymore, but people looking to get into mining, it's a great, that's why I recommend like these home miners, great for people. I literally, when I buy these miners, don't even look at the fact of when can I flip these? What can I flip these for? I'm just looking at, hey, I got a money printer and I can put it to work. But of course, at the end of the day, I go, it's an investment. So I can sell that money printer at a later date, but there's no target for me at this point in time because I love to be able to resell them for double and we're crazy. And I also don't know, is the bull market we lived through before an oddity? And will it never be that way?
Yeah.
And I think that's really the hard part is everybody looks at the last bull market and goes, oh yeah, when that comes back. But I have a great question where I ask myself is what if that never returns? What if crypto, this is the norm now? And those ebb and flow, we had the halving, it wasn't as insane as what we expected. Will it return based off of cycles and what date and month? It's I don't know. We'll see. So that is something that I constantly keep in mind is when I'm buying that, I buy it for the situation today, not for a what if in the future.
Yeah. And I do think about all that stuff too, with the halving, in my opinion, just based on the previous cycles, it's probably too early to call, but it has been a little, subpar, whereas in previous cycles it did already appreciate a little faster than this. But we're still probably at least 4 to 6 months away from seeing the true results of that, if there are any. Which I also do wonder: is this this cycle's already different? We hit new all-time high before the halving.
It's a weird oddity; it doesn't align with anything right now.
ETFs happen. We're in a weird place in the economy and the cycle, and interest rates are in a not good place. So a lot of things do need to shift. But I'm very curious to see what happens next. But yeah, it's proof that past results don't guarantee future performance.
Correct.
But you have to pay attention to that stuff too. And so hedge your bets, I think, is probably a safe way to do it. Expect things to happen like they did before with some of your position, then expect different new things to happen with some other parts.
Oh yeah.
So that way you're kind of you win. You win either way. What about the rest of the machines? You want to get more Caspa machines nearer term. I know you got the KS5 Pro coming. What over the next few months are you looking at as signals to buy more hardware?
Yeah, Dogecoin and Caspa is really where my focus is now, on additional miners to go from there. We had a great opportunity with the KS5 Pro to dip 50%. So it's okay, buying opportunity. As we talked about before, Bitmain will most likely release better hash rate models. And then even on the Dogecoin side, it's I had the 2L7s, I was going good, but really my DG1 Plus really pushed that even more. So it's funny, I continue to see those miners being my most profitable Bitcoin miners. And so, yeah, I think just continue to accumulate. I think that's actually something I thought about on the over here was it's funny how you can't buy miners. You could, but it's tough to buy miners a year ago, and then that's it, and you don't buy anything else ever again. You almost need to continue to accumulate, continue to grow, continue to buy the latest miners. You kind of have to, you know what I mean? In order to stay relative, I feel and profitable.
Unless you have just really crazy low electricity
Correct.
rates.
Yes.
Or unless you just happen to time it right to where as they start to become less relevant, the prices all shoot up, which, could happen in the next few months. We just don't know the future. So you're going to get an L9?
Maybe. Maybe.
I want one. I want to buy one.
I want one too. For 3,300 watts, it's like a no-brainer. The fact that it supports bells, which I found out today is actually based off the pool. So the pool actually determines if it'll be there. So I was chatting with the Alphapex guys like, hey, are you going to start? And they're like, well, actually, we're ready to go. We're just waiting for the pools to support it. So I'm like, so I think L9, like Bitmain was just advertising it from a marketing perspective. But if there's no pools that are supporting that, then it won't be actually happen. But yeah, so I'm all for it. I mean, I like it.
I really want one because I just, don't have any script mining exposure at the moment. I would love to do that.
That'd be a great entry. Great entry to get
But, I've received various forms of hate today. I'm not really a Litecoin fan. Sorry.
Neither am I. It's okay. I put it all into Dogecoin. I roll it right into Doge.
But, to just accumulate some Litecoin is cool. But mainly I want to get more Doge exposure. And then as like the wild card, Bell's coin is like teeny tiny, teeny market cap. They kind of rebooted the thing. So I'm like, it'd be kind of cool to mine this.
Yep.
Triple merge mine, which is crazy.
Yeah.
And accumulate this other random, third one. And then, hey, if it does crazy numbers in the next bull run, I'll be really happy.
And he's going to tell us like next time we do this conversation, guess what? Dogecoin's in my top 5 right now.
Hey,
I bought an L9.
Crazier things have happened.
Yep.
So maybe here to close this out, we're going into this next run. What are you talked a lot of different moves you're making, but what are just some kind of bigger picture moves or maybe even bigger picture kind of mindset things you're trying to like reinforce and make habit that you're going to be practicing over the next 6 months in hopeful preparation for this stuff to take off?
Yeah. So as I'm growing my own farm, for me I'm like, okay, I am going to have to come to realization that I will have to start to liquidate some Bitcoin to support my mining endeavors, which, as you said, it becomes more of a standard and a normal when you start to grow in size. You can't float that electric bill anymore. If anyone's got an extra $5,000 a month, you want to help, go for it. Let's go. But no, in reality, so that's something to consider where it's like, okay, I'm now going to spend more Bitcoin than normal. Normally it's one way, filling that bag versus, okay, someone's going to be coming back. So that's a realization I have to kind of keep in mind there. But outside of that, yeah, just for me, it's going to be continuing to grow. I will max out my shed. I know that will come very quickly. But now it's starting to utilize more hosting services is going to be a lot. And more, and right now I have about 15 miners hosted. That will grow. And it'll have to grow. I mean, it's just naturally because I don't see myself being like, I'm going to sell a bunch of these miners right now. It just doesn't make sense. Like their value isn't where I want it to be. But yes, continuing to grow. Absolutely.
If everything does blow up and take off, in a year or whatever, we have a bull cycle like we did last time. All your hardware is mysteriously worth way more.
Yep.
Do you liquidate all your hardware? What do you do?
Probably oldest to newest. Right now, first things that come to mind, I got some S19J Pro 100 terahash units that I got in last bull run. Well, after the bull run, a little bit after, because I remember they were like 15 grand then. Got them significantly less. And I'll start from oldest to newest, looking at that. I think that's the best way to go. It's like oldest to newest, sell your way through it. I think it's the best way. Yeah. I don't think I'll do everything. That would be weird. You can't sell it all. Come on now.
Well, you wonder if it's a good idea. Sell it all as much as you can, then pile on the cash. Wait a year, then buy it all back up.
We all say that from like one bull run to another, but yet when we look at things like just like accumulated more during that time period, you know what I mean?
Yep. So a couple of add-ons here towards
the end. Go for it.
Because this is always one topic that I love chatting with you specifically about. People want to get in the space, they want to get heavier into the space, or they don't have enough money to like buy into stuff. So they think, at least in their head, there's like a thought experiment. Like, what if I did a side hustle or second thing or whatever, earn some extra money? They just don't do those things. You're somebody who, you're the most scheduled person I've ever met, I think.
Don't listen to Andy. You know what he's talking about.
You have the day job. You do this entirely
correct.
Second thing is another full-time job.
100%.
You still make time for your family and friends and all this stuff. You're really good at prioritizing your entire life to get the things you want, which I respect, and I really like when people are able to do that, and it's awesome to see when they're successful in doing that because it's not easy to do.
Yeah.
So to people who are listening who want that or want to have the ability to like utilize their time more effectively, and actually take some of the extra time that we whether we admit it or not all have to move that needle. What advice do you have for those people?
Time management is huge. I think when I discovered that I had more time available to actually bring on passive income or additional hobbies that are lucrative, I think is when you look at, for me, it was very much sitting down and looking at my day to be like, okay, I work this hour to this hour. And a lot of people in our society are like, okay, well, that means that I'm entitled for the remaining time of the day to do nothing.
Yeah.
And it's like, absolutely not. Like for me, it's like, okay, you have that time to that time, and you got your family time in there. Like a lot of my family, they go to bed at 9 o'clock. I'm like, perfect. That's when I get work done. So like 9 to 1 or 2 a.m. cranking away at like what other opportunities I have. I think the interesting thing is like, yeah, it seems like a lot of work and it's not, but you got to get rid of that mentality of like earnings per hour. Like when I do things, I'm not like, how much is that going to earn me? I'm like, okay, it's going to roll into something down the line. So I think it's really just time management and looking at your day to see where you can find that opportunity, even an hour a day. Like an hour a day of doing this to this type of deal, I think would be really lucrative for people. And I think that's the downside is like people naturally are like, oh no, I need to sit on the couch. I need to relax type of deal. I'm like, dude, you relax when you sleep. Like, you know what I mean? Like, none of that.
You can sleep when you're dead.
And it's funny you say that because my wife, I never sit on the couch. Like, I'm always going. But my wife always says, the second you sit on the couch, you fall asleep. That's 100%. Like, the second I take a second to go, oh, I'm going to relax, I'm out like asleep. Yeah.
Hobbyist is up before me every day, and I think he probably goes to bed after me, or at least the same time I do, but he definitely working before. So, but lots of people, they say, you know, the words you said, they are entitled to this time. They deserve this time, in which everybody should relax.
Sure.
Like, you shouldn't work 24/7 and like kill yourself over it. But like, what do you say to people who like, you know, I should relax. I don't want to waste. I don't want to give away those years. I want to enjoy those years. How do you balance that? Or what do you say?
I think where I put my crosshairs on is like work now when I physically can and when my brain is sharpest, and then later enjoy that relaxation. Like that's my goal. You know, like I want to retire early. Like I want to be done with all of that early. So it's like, that's my goal. So it's like, you're not going to get there doing what you're doing today. Like, sorry, Social Security is nothing. Like, don't even bank on it. You know, like, let's be honest here.
Yeah. And also, like, it's all relative. I mean, and maybe you agree or disagree with this, but it's like, if I could rewind the time and do some of the things I'm doing now, but when I was younger, I would have. But it's like, I agree. If I could give up just even half of the fun times I had as a 20-year-old and just work more to build the things I've built now, and then I could take time off now, more time than I already take off, I would gladly trade that, because those are small trades. You're talking about a few years of your life where you give more time to building these things, not all your time, but just some of it, so that later, I don't know. Otherwise, like you said, what's the alternative? You work every day for the rest of your life, and you only get the weekends off. And
I mean, I shouldn't point out to people that I don't enjoy relaxing, but like for me, it's like this industry has allowed me to enjoy more vacations because I'm not only making more from YouTube, from crypto, whatever, but like when I do a vacation with my family, that is the time that I check out entirely. Like, leave my phone in the room and like do not, you know, for a week type of deal. So I do have those opportunities, but they're not like every weekend. People are like, oh, it's the weekend and take off and do nothing all weekend. It's like, no, like that is opportunity.
Yeah. And also it's like there is overlap here. Like we have built, well, this is my entire thing now, crypto, but it is another full-time job for you effectively, but it's one that you enjoy doing it.
Oh, I love it. I do it every day if I financially could.
So it's also like, there's an element here that if you pick the right thing to spend that leisure time on, and something you actually really enjoy doing, well, then it's kind of relaxing and fun. And it's, I mean, I have more fun doing it.
You don't consider it work. You're like, this is fun, you know, exactly.
I mean, I'm not going to lie. Some days YouTube and crypto feels like a job, but most of the time I'm still really, really interested in it and energized by it and passionate about it. That by and large, like in aggregate, when I zoom out, I'm having fun. Yeah. It's worth those little times where it feels like a job, because the alternative was what I used to do, which was just a job. Yep. And, you know, again, I've said this a million times online. I'm not actually against 9 to 5s, and I give you a hard time about yours sometimes.
Oh, Andy, every time I see Andy in person, which is like maybe twice a year, maybe, Andy's like, still working that normie job? Like, yes, I am, Andy. Thank you.
But I don't really have anything against them. But, you know, but if we're all honest, most of the time, the thing you're doing with your job isn't like your life's mission or your like life's passion.
Not at all.
And
not at all.
If I gave most people the choice of like, here's $5 million and you have to quit your job today, or you have to keep working your job for the rest of your life.
Yep.
Like,
And here's the $5 million you'll earn. Which one do you pick?
Yeah. They're going to take the today and I'm done.
Yeah.
Whatever, no matter how. So I don't know. I think the takeaway here is that you have choices in life. And we all have the same amount of time, and saying I don't have enough time, or I'm entitled to, this is only relaxation time or whatever, is fine. But you have a choice with that time, and you can build things that give you your time back.
Yep. Trust me, it's first inkling of that, which Andy is always pushing me. Andy is always encouraging me. We always talk about like content creation, stuff like that. Always encouraging me, like, can someone else do it better for you for X amount? So like back in January of the previous year, I hired a thumbnail designer. I did that myself for the longest time, whatever. You'll be proud to know that I no longer cut my own grass, that I hired someone. Usually takes me 2 hours. And I was like, well, what do I do? It was one time, and I was like, man, I really got to get this YouTube video done, but that grass is getting so long. And I was like, and the next time I was like, screw it, I'm going to hire someone. But it was a great example of that, where it's like, it allows you that opportunity to do these other things. So you're just shifting your time from cutting grass to making, the content type of deal.
And okay. And what you're saying right there is such a fantastic, like, mindset switch. And I fully recognize that, like, what I'm saying is like first world issues
100%.
and entitlement and whatever, like, but you can build these things, you can earn these things, but whatever. I realize first world problems. But once you start getting into the mindset of like, okay, if I want this thing that's gonna make my life easier, if I want this thing that I want to enjoy, whatever, what can I do that will like buy that for me? So if it is like mowing the grass, like, what is a passive income thing I can build that will then fully pay for that thing, where it doesn't require me to actively work on that thing or even the income source itself, and then that's now on autopilot. And then when you start making that shift of like, how can I buy income, how can I buy time back, that's where things change. And I'm by no means like an expert in this. There's people who are actual like billionaires, crazy successful people in the world who do it like in a playing field that I can't even fathom. But I'm getting little tastes of it in life. And it's good. I mean, you're doing it too.
More and more, I'd say over the last year, I've slowly stepped into that more and more, where it's like, okay, like, where do I spend my time? Where do I spend my money? In order to help balance that out some more, for sure.
Yeah. And also just as encouragement to anybody who, it's in the earlier stages of that process, like, I started, super in debt, making hardly any money per year. None of this stuff I had built. You started with just your normal job. You didn't have any of this yet. You had to build it with all your extra time. Like, these are things you can build slowly, and it just takes time. And, you talk about this Caspa machine you bought that's making you $80 per day. It's like, in my mind, it was always make $274 per day, which is $100,000 a year on the side. So if I can just like keep building little things that get me closer to that number, and that's now just extra money on the side, that's doable when you start breaking it down.
Kind of identifying what that value is per day, and then be like, all right, now 365 times, what is that going to give me?
And how can I get it? Well, these are always fun conversations. I always love having you on the podcast. We always talk about fun things. So, hobbyist, good to see you in person again. Good to see you at Mining Disrupt, and thanks for being on the podcast.
Love doing it.
And to those of you out there listening, thank you so much for listening, and I will see you in the next episode. Goodbye.